You're listening to another episode of Tap Outs and Touchdowns.
Every week, dude. Every week this song just gets me jacked up. What's up, everybody? It's Football Wednesday here on Tap Outs and Touchdowns. That's right, another live episode talking all things playoff football. It's your guy, Bully Rye. Alongside me, as always, is banker Bill. Bill, what's happening, man?
What's happening, man? Football Wednesday. I do like the ring of that. And this song gets me jacked up, too. I have to agree with you on that one. I have no idea why. I mean, it's a wrestling deal, I know, but I still like it.
So there was an old wrestler. He actually
I don't care.
No, you will care. I promise you will care. His original gimmick was called Spark Plug Bob Holly, and he would come to the ring with like his entrance music was like a race car, and he was in like a race suit, and he was like a NASCAR driver.
Kind of like that. All right.
He was Spark Plug Bob Holly, and eventually he sort of he lost it as he lost his hair, lost that gimmick, and then he became Hardcore Holly, and he would just go out and beat people up with trash can lids and stuff like that. And yeah,
and this was his music. Okay.
Yeah, this is music. It actually, like, if PJ Steven was in the show, he would say something like, "I'm glad that you didn't do the music," because like for a part of his career, like towards the end of his career in WWE, like it would hit like that, and then like it would be him like, "How do you like me now?" Boom, 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 and it would get into the music, and it just made it really like dumb and corny. So like, I'm glad that I found it like that
without the corny part.
Without the corny part in it. So we are live on social media platforms: Facebook.com/Tapouts and Touchdowns, Instagram Ryan Frick Comedy, and YouTube at Tapouts and Touchdowns. So make sure wherever you are listening or watching tonight live with us, you join the conversation by leaving a comment wherever it is you're watching. And also share the stream with your friends so that they can help find the show, as I plan on doing as we speak, to try to get a hold of it and share that link on my personal Facebook as well. Bill, we got a lot of football stuff to get into. I say a lot. We really don't. Like, honestly, like if you think about it, in all of professional and college football, there are 10 teams left to really talk about as far as active football teams. But your Homer's Corner, you always give me a hard time about talking about women's college basketball and soccer and all this stuff. I'm going to let you start us off with your Homer's Corner so that you can get eaten alive in the comments
I can't believe you just did that.
I did it. I'm kidding. I mean, listen, Bill, we've talked about this in the past. We've actually sponsored a race, an iRacing race in the past.
Yep.
And so, no, I'm just giving you a hard time because you always give me a hard time. But Bill wants to talk some auto racing here in his Homer's Corner. So, Bill, I'm going to let you take it away while I try to go and share this show to help other people come and join us live tonight.
Well, it's just a quick one. I'm excited about two things that happened today. Well, not happening today, but happening this weekend. One of them happened today, and that is Dale Earnhardt Jr., the owner of Junior Motorsports. Thanks, Eric Myers, for that. Owns Junior Motorsports. He announced today that his racing team, will be racing in the Cup Series, the NASCAR Cup Series. For those of you that know anything about auto racing, that is the highest echelon of stock car racing in the United States, in the world, really. And he's going to be racing for the first time, not him, but his team is going to be racing in the Daytona 500, attempt to race the Daytona 500 with Justin Allgaier, the defending Xfinity Series champion. I'm not going to get into the hierarchy, but he's the defending Xfinity Series champion, and he's going to make an attempt to run the Daytona 500 in a number 40 car owned by Junior Motorsports and Dale Jr., sponsored by Chris Stapleton, which is kind of cool. He has Traveler Whiskey is going to be the sponsor on the car. Number 40, it looks really cool. I saw the car today. I'm really excited about it. I am excited about it as a fan of auto racing. I'm a huge fan of auto racing. And my second part of Homer's Corner, I am doing something completely wild this weekend. It is the 24 hours of iRacing at Daytona. So me, aforementioned Eric Myers, and hopefully a third person, we haven't really locked one down yet, are going to be taking turns in a car virtually at the virtual Daytona International Speedway, racing consecutively for 24 straight hours. So hopefully 3 of us will be running, and each time will take about 2 hours, get out of the car for 4 hours, run another 2 hours, and do that for 24 hours straight. Eric and I won it back in 2016 in the 9th split. It's hard to explain all that thing, but it is wild. It is so much fun, and hopefully one of us will be streaming it. We have a In the Zone Racing website that we like to stream to when we do something crazy. This is crazy, and it's happening this weekend. So I prepared to lose some sleep this weekend. That's going to be fun. But that is my Homer's Corner.
No, that's good stuff, man. Like I said, we've sponsored an iRacing.
Yes,
an
the
iRace
Tap Outs
over
and Touchdowns Clash is what that was.
It's actually, it's really fun, man. Like if you're into like racing in general, like if you're into video games, even like it's kind of cool the way that it's presented like a professional race. Like it is. It's it's something different if that's not something you're used to, but like these people. I wish there needs to be more like demonstration, illustration about what the kind of setups that you guys have in your house. Like straight up, like something you see in the mall, like the little racing simulator in the mall.
Yeah,
but like
a little more
sophisticated.
Yeah, sophisticated. That's a good word. A little more sophisticated than that. But I could post a picture on the Facebook page at some point. I just tuned it up. Before I got on, I was practicing. That's actually what I was doing before I got in here. So I tuned the whole thing up, and it's pretty wild. I mean, like you said, it's as close. I would say this. When it comes to video games, you talk about like different simulations and things like that, like what can be simulated. There are two things that can really kind of be simulated in the video game world, and that is the flight simulators where they have the yoke and the ability to steer with all the throttle and the rudders and all that stuff, and auto racing. So what's that? Oh, I'm looking at Aaron's comment.
Yeah. The racing for 24 hours sounds like a version of hell that I would hope to never go to.
It's kind of a team sport because you're racing with your buddies. They're not racing at the same time. You hand them a car. You don't get it. Like if you crash it, the whole team is disappointed. That happened a few years ago where we ran for 24 hours. We were running third in like a 47 car race, right? We're running third, and a buddy of mine crashed the car with 10 minutes to go, and we ended up finishing 10th. So we've never he crashed in an area of the track called the bus stop. So we just call him Bus Stop Andrew now. That's just his nickname forever. Like every time I talk to him, I'm like, "Hey, did you crash in the bus stop recently at all?" I never let it go. But it's
imagine a relay race where like they pass the baton.
That's what we're doing.
That's basically what he's doing, Aaron.
Yes, give Aaron's comment. Put it up on the screen there.
Yeah,
he says, "Are naps allowed?" And yes, Aaron, naps are allowed. So basically, what we'll probably do, I think the race starts at about 8 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday morning. That's probably the session. It's called the session that we'll get into because there's about 3 or 4 times you can do this during the weekend. You go from 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. So somebody's going to start at 8 a.m. Obviously, we'll have a schedule of who gets in the car when, but there's guys that are going to have to run those really late night races. And the year that I won my last stint, I was on the West Coast at this time, started at 3:30 a.m. and ended at 5:30 a.m. That's when I ended my final race, and we actually won the race. So
Austin says for 24 hours, I don't care about naps. He wants to know if snacks are allowed. That's definitely something Austin said.
Definitely snacks, 100%. We're going to be eating some food. It's a super fun time. I mean, you're not with your friends like in the same room, but it's super fun. Like, and you get to talk about it after you get done, and it's really cool.
Bill actually sits on his computer with his knees up on the steering wheel, and he reads a book and drinks a macchiato like Jacques Girard.
Just roll, yeah.
My
caramel macchiato.
So Aaron wants to talk about something that I think we could probably talk about. I wanted to talk in my Homer's Corner about this being one of the worst quarterback classes in recent memory, but I think I'm going to pass that up and go to that next week because Aaron actually brings up a good topic to talk about in a Homer's Corner. There was an Eagles fan, I believe his name is Ryan Caldwell, if you can see the comment on the screen, got fired from his job as a DEI consultant and was permanently banned from, I believe, all NFL games for calling a Packers fan a see you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
If you will. It was caught on camera. Apparently the guy that was recording is an influencer, so he's going to have his camera out anyway. But if you don't recall, the Green Bay Packers visited the Philadelphia Eagles in the wild card round of the playoffs, and it was caught on camera, this older white man that was absolutely berating a female Green Bay Packers fan. Now it wasn't so bad that like the woman was crying or anything like that, but it was definitely out of line. as Michael Davis would say, it was out of pocket. There was somebody that went on social media and said that this isn't all Eagles fans, this, that, and the other. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, let's talk about this for a second. You guys booed Santa Claus, right?
That's a long time ago, but yes.
You have this reputation of exemplifying this guy who I guess didn't think that everybody could track him down on the internet. I'll tell you what, if you think that you can remain anonymous, do something really dumb and go viral. Because the fact that this guy like would not let up and just kept going in on this lady, and again using foul language, calling her a dumb see you next Tuesday and this, that, and the other. I was genuinely surprised when I found out that he was a DEI consultant. For those of you who do not know what DEI is, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which promotes equality in the workplace. And this guy was just that for a company and was fired from his job. The Eagles have banned him. I want to say the NFL banned him from games as well. I know the Philadelphia Eagles did. And apparently the Philadelphia Eagles are also trying to get in touch with this woman to hook her up with Green Bay Packers gear as sort of a, I'm sorry about our fans being douchebags. And here you go. Right. So I've said this for years. And despite the fact that one of my favorite Gamecocks of all time, Alshon Jeffrey, played in Philadelphia, the last couple of years, I've lost any sort of sympathy for Green Bay Packers. I'm sorry, for the Philadelphia Eagles, as I'm thinking about the Packers fan. You get what's coming to you, man. Like I wish more people would record the behavior from Eagles fans to opposing fans. I mean, listen, you could talk about that with every fan base in the country. Like,
not every fan base.
The Raiders. There's bad fans that
49ers.
Yeah, the Niners have some bad fans. The Cowboys. I mean, there's plenty of fan bases that have those the groups of people that make it bad for the rest of your team and fan base. But nevertheless, just I say an unfortunate situation, unfortunate for the woman, but like, guess good luck getting another job, guy. Like, I hope you've got a car with good gas mileage, because you're probably going to be doing DoorDash for a while now, up in snowy Philadelphia. 323 College Shame Day over on Instagram says, and the fact that he's married with a daughter and still felt that it was okay to talk to anyone, let alone a woman, that way. Absolutely agreed. Appalling, shocking, deplorable, chicaterous. I don't know what chicaterous means, but I wanted to throw it out.
That was good. I don't know what that word is either. I don't think I've ever heard it. It's disgusting is what it is, unfortunately. Yeah, that is on the list of words I do not and will refuse to say ever.
I have to be in the right mood, okay?
I just don't understand why you would say that. That's why I don't say it.
Aaron Thompson back in the chat says, if someone calls my wife the C word, I'm fighting. The Packers fan said that he didn't want it. Anything because the Eagles fan had his friends and brother there with him. I would have just taken the ass whooping. Listen,
I get what you're saying, Aaron. I do, but
I've used that word. I'm not proud of it. Sometimes it's necessary. People that used to be in your life that are no longer in your life.
Come on. There are other words. There are other words. I knew where you went with that one. Okay.
So, all right, I'll tell a little. It's story time with Bully Rye.
While you do that, I'm fixing my headphones. I won't hear you.
The first time one of my friends met a former person I used to know, she did not like being called the B word, right? She found it offensive and disrespectful, which I can agree with. And he called her one as they're talking about it in the chat. I'm not putting it up there. But he was saying it jokingly, and I tried to warn him, and she leaned over and popped him in the face, like punched my friend in the face. First time they've ever met. And so she made it very clear that she would have done the same thing to me had I ever called her the B word. And so you would use the C word to get away with not calling her the other one so that she wouldn't punch me in the face. I didn't do it often.
Can't do it.
Now that we no longer communicate, I do it all the time, specifically for her. Because it's worse. It's clearly worse than the other one, even though Australia uses it like, "What's up, bud?" Like that's what they use. That they use that word that loosely, but now just whenever she comes up in conversation, a lot of people use that word about her, and they continue to talk about the word.
There's plenty. There's even a football term that rhymes with it, and
it's not kick, but it's what Pat McAfee used to do.
Yes.
Years. So anyway, we can say punt on the show.
We can say punt.
There's nothing wrong with punt.
For sure. That's
all right. Let's get into what the actual show is about. Let's talk some football. Let's start off in the world of college football. And before we get to the college football playoff talk, there's a couple of potential developments in the world of college football, and it has to do with coaching in college football. And
there's more than that.
What do you mean?
We didn't talk about Carson Beck going to Miami. That's craziness.
Oh, we didn't talk about Carson
And then the
Beck.
great fumbler, Trevor Etienne. He decided to go pro today, even though his best season he had like 690 yards rushing.
Fantastic. Maybe he can go to Jacksonville and back up his brother. Or is it his cousin? I don't know. Anyway,
he can go kick rocks as far as I'm concerned. Go Gators.
There's also a report out that Carson Beck and his girlfriend had a tumultuous relationship that somehow infected the locker room is the report that I saw.
I heard about
it. Is what it is.
Such a good guy Miami's getting. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and you could say one like Carson Beck is causing unnecessary neck tension. That could be something that Carson Beck is doing transferring to Miami. Anyway, so there are some stories in college football, but let's talk about two in particular. One coming out about Deion Sanders. There are reports that not only does Jerry Jones want Deion Sanders to come and coach the Dallas Cowboys, but he also would like Deion Sanders to bring Shedeur, his son and Colorado quarterback, to come play for the Dallas Cowboys. Mama Frick in the house hearing that conversation, so that's fun. But beyond that, there were reports that Shedeur Sanders wanted to go to Vegas, and Deion Sanders obviously famously said that he wouldn't let his sons go where he didn't want them to go. And it seemed like Vegas was a good landing spot for Shedeur Sanders as well as Deion Sanders. So, Bill, let me ask you this question about Deion Sanders.
He's annoying.
Is there any chance?
Oh, that's not the answer to the question, is it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No.
Is there any chance that Deion Sanders will be the head coach at Colorado next year?
I think so. I don't. He already said that he likes Colorado as an option to, that he wants to stay. But yeah, I think there's a chance. I think that I wouldn't go coach the Cowboys. Ugh. I mean, do you really want to deal with the Jerry Jones telling you what to do all the time? I mean, we've seen this with how many coaches now? They haven't been good since Jimmy Johnson built the team. Like Jerry Jones is too involved. I wouldn't want.
That was like 6 years after
1995.
Jerry Jones bought the team.
Yeah,
he bought the team in '88,
and he hired Jimmy Johnson to build the team. Jimmy Johnson from Miami Hurricanes. Jimmy Johnson built the team on speed when back then the NFL was built on power, and they were really, really good. He got Aikman, Smith, Irvin on offense, great offensive trio, and they were really good. And they won Super Bowls. And then Jimmy Johnson left, and Barry Switzer won a Super Bowl with Jimmy Johnson's team, and they haven't been good since.
Yeah,
I mean, they've been good.
I don't want to
say good enough.
Will the Dallas Cowboys ever win a Super Bowl before Jerry Jones dies?
No, not a chance. I would bet all of my paychecks until I die on that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like they talked about they showed a video comparing the two when it comes to the Washington Commanders, who have moved on in the playoffs for the first time since I believe 2007, 2005, the last time they won a playoff game. And Magic Johnson is part of the investment team that own the Commanders, and he and the new owner were there, and they were talking about like culture and this, that, and the other. And I sit back and I let my people do their job. And then, there's an interviewer asking Jerry Jones, like, you ever thought about letting somebody be the GM? No, this is my team. I didn't buy an investment. I bought an occupation, is exactly what Jerry Jones said. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how you are going to get anybody to want to come play for you or to come coach for you, which is why the Cowboys would continue to be terrible until Jerry Jones, because he's in his 70s, 80s now, whatever it is. So, I mean, he is the new Al Davis. I mean, let's be honest. He is the new Al Davis. So if Deion Sanders goes to Dallas, good luck, bud, because there's another coach that is now being talked about and discussed for the Las Vegas Raiders head coaching job. Antonio Pierce fired, I believe, last week after one season as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And if you're not aware, Tom Brady is part of the ownership team with the Las Vegas Raiders, and there are now rumors that he would like to talk to one Bill Belichick to fill the head coaching vacancy in Las Vegas. Bill Belichick famously took the head coaching job at the University of North Carolina. And what's interesting is that he only has a $1 million buyout to get out of his contract with North Carolina. So if he does choose to go and be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, all he has to do is pay North Carolina $1 million. And then his son, who was the coach in waiting in the first place, can take over as the head coach of North Carolina. And now Bill Belichick has been hired and never coached a game for North Carolina, and now leaves to go back to the NFL. What are your thoughts on this? Bill Belichick going to coach for the Raiders next season? Or better question, does Bill Belichick ever coach a game for North Carolina?
This is ridiculous.
I know.
What is this? I don't care. I just don't. I don't care. He's old. Do I think this was his retirement party? With North Carolina, yeah, there wasn't much to lose there because they weren't that great this year. They went bowling. That's fine. I think people expect more at North Carolina. You got a team that they have a school there that's had pretty good quarterback play, some pretty decent quarterbacks run through there, and not won enough games. So I think they were just having a retirement party, man. I really think that's all that was. He's like 73 years old. So
I think he wanted to go for the college chicks. Let's be honest. He's dating a college-aged girl right now.
Yeah. I mean,
he wanted to go to the frat parties, man. Why not?
You know what they say about college girls? I keep getting older.
That is not what they say about college girls.
Oh, I wasn't going to say
high school girls. Yeah,
I know.
That's a movie, guys.
I was using McConaughey.
We're not the weird creeps that you expect us to be. It's from a movie.
If you don't know that movie, I'm sorry, but no, it's weird, man. Now the way you framed it, I think when I originally read it, I'm like, no, that's not. Why would he go to the Raiders? The Raiders are a dumpster fire of an organization. I wouldn't go there. And now that Tom Brady's involved, obviously Brady and him have a really long-term connection. Yeah. So I can actually see that a little bit, but
the departure of Tom Telesco as the one-year general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders, it wouldn't shock me, especially considering, and I don't mean to say this because he is arguably the best quarterback of all time. He's not great on commentary, is Tom Brady. So as part owner, I don't understand why they don't just go ahead and name Tom Brady the general manager of the Raiders, take him off commentary, and then he'll have the power to go hire Bill Belichick or Wes Welker or Rob Gronkowski to be on the coaching staff for the Vegas Raiders.
Your mom over here calling me out on age.
Oh, yeah.
That's not fair.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything.
It's to be working. I hope I'm not working at 73 years old. Yeah, no. If I was a football coach, though, I would do it. That seems like, it's weird. We talk about how hard these jobs are and how hard it is to be a football coach, but these guys do it till they're like dead. They're just still on the Paterno's on the field. He quits, and then like 6 months later, he's done. Is it that hard? Is it really that hard?
Well, when you're Joe Paterno and you're covering up years of child abuse.
Oh, can we not go there? My point was that he was extremely aged.
Yeah, because what else is he going to do? He's going to leave.
Retire? Hang out with the family?
Penn State, and then it's going to come out and it's going to tarnish his legacy. No, Joe Paterno can kick rocks. Volley probably said he missed the first 20 minutes of the show. Did Bill say wrong again? You know what? We haven't gotten there. That's why you're never getting your shirt, Volley Polly, okay? That's why you're never getting your shirt. Let's move on to the college football
Can't wait
playoff.
to see my record after this week.
I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about the college football semifinal as the Final Four took place last weekend. And sure enough, Penn State lost to Notre Dame 27-24, and Ohio State beat Texas 28-14. That game looks a lot like with a 14-point spread. That game looks a lot. It was 21-14 in the fourth quarter with Texas driving. Ohio State gets a scoop and score, fumble for a touchdown, and that it essentially ends the game for Texas. But that game was close. It was to the wire, the same way Penn State and Notre Dame was. Bill, you watch these games. Thoughts? Penn State's defensive coordinator is now taking the job to be the defensive coordinator at Clemson. That was announced earlier today and made official. If not yesterday, whatever the case was. Do you think that? What do you think about Penn State going forward? We talked about the fact that they never can beat the big teams. Here they are in the Final Four and lose to Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Let's start talking about Penn State for a second. James Franklin seems to not be able to close the deal, whether it's for a Big Ten championship or now for a national championship.
Yeah.
Is with college football and the NFL, we talk about like windows opening and closing as far as championship goes. What do you see for Penn State going forward after making a college football semifinal here in 2025?
I think they are who we thought they were. I think they will continue to be who they are. Who wants to go to College Station, Pennsylvania, wherever the heck that place is? Actually, you don't want to hear something crazy. Geographically, I looked it up just to figure out where the heck that school is. It's right in the center of Pennsylvania, a little bit closer to Pittsburgh than it is to Philadelphia. Who the heck would want to go there? I have no idea. You're right. Franklin, he doesn't seem to be able to win the big game. I get it. But I'm a Florida fan, and I've seen worse. So
that's fair. Yeah, listen, I'm not a fan.
Being relevant and be right at the cusp of possibly playing for a national championship. I mean, that's where they were this season. Granted, they didn't have much of a tough road through the college football playoff, but at least they were in it. So, I'd be, you talked about Ryan Day this year with Ohio State about him not being able to win the big game. I mean, if he is able to win the championship, or even the fact that he's in the football, the final this year, does that mean he is solidified as the coach of Ohio State? Franklin made the Final Four. Doesn't that solidify him as the coach at Penn State? That's how I would feel about if I was a Penn State fan.
I mean, he's probably there for the long haul, right? Like Joe Paterno didn't win national championships year in and year out.
Right. I mean,
he was there forever. The problem is I'm not a fan of James Franklin. I used to be. I thought what he did for 2 years at Vanderbilt was pretty amazing, especially considering it got him the job. He was the next guy after Joe Paterno to go to Penn State.
Right.
And he's been there ever since. The problem is Penn State is a brand, and it's a brand where people go and you can go.
It's a really boring brand at this point.
It is a very boring brand.
Yeah.
And I don't see him going anywhere, but I think to your point, they are who we thought they were, and they're going to continue to be who we know them to be. Is they're going to beat up on the Michigan States and the Rutgers and the Marylands and the other teams in the Big Ten. And when it comes to Ohio State and probably Michigan and now Oregon and even Southern Cal and so on and so forth, you're going to see them be able to beat a bunch of decent teams, a bunch of bad teams, and then choke when it comes to crunch time. And nothing would make me happier for James Franklin than for him to continue to fall into mediocrity, to be a really good 8 to 9 to 10 win team a season, and then never being able to win a championship for it. Because I still think what he did at the end of the year, when he was trying to win not popularity points, he was trying to win style points when he had his third string or second or third string in, and he was throwing the ball as time expired. You can say, well, they're in there to compete and they're in there to play, and I understand that, but time's expiring. That's something you do in college football on PlayStation. That's not something you do in real life. And right then and there, I was like, James Franklin can kick rocks now and forever. Let's move on to the next game as Ohio State takes out Texas, and what was a much more contested game than we expected it to be. I believe the point spread on that game was Ohio State 5.5. They would have covered either way. Mm-hmm. Quinn Ewers declared for the NFL draft this week. College Shame Day over on Instagram says not so happy Valley. I love that. Quinn Ewers declared for the NFL draft. So it is now the Arch Manning show in Texas. Again, talking about windows opening and closing. It looked like Steve Sarkisian had that team ready to play, who you thought was the number one team in the country and still may be the number one team in the country in Ohio State. They have essentially the exact same schedule they had last year, this coming season, getting the bottom half of the SEC in their schedule, once again missing out on, I believe it's the Alabama and the Tennessee, and I still think they have Georgia on the schedule. I have to go back and look, but they have the exact same SEC schedule next season. Would it be safe to say that we're probably going to see Texas in the college football playoff again? I know it's way too early, but we're probably going to see them competing once again for the college football playoff next season. And do you see them being able to win a championship with Arch Manning as their quarterback?
I don't know. Arch Manning did play a little bit this year. It looked good. Isaiah Bond, he declared for the draft this week. You don't know what the roster turnover is going to look like and but they're a really good recruiting team. Steve Sarkisian's a good coach. The SEC is, should we call it? Let's call it. It's down right now.
I don't think it is.
A little bit. It is a little bit. It is a little bit based on the fact that only one of their teams, one of their superpower teams, made it. And really, it's a Big 12 team. Made it into, 1 year in the SEC does not make you an SEC perennial powerhouse. But they're a Big 12 team. And so the SEC didn't really have any good teams that made it interesting in the college football playoff. They just didn't. So yeah, I would say Texas is probably going to be at the top of the conference again this year, but you don't know what's Ole Miss going to look like next year. They're always up and down. What's Florida going to? They got to play Florida again. They got to play Florida in Florida's house. So what are they going to look like next year?
I would love to see Florida beat Texas. Just don't
what are they going to look like? What is this all going to look like? We don't know yet. So I think it's more interesting to see what Arch Manning is going to do, because this is one of the most highly touted quarterbacks I've ever heard of since he was like a junior in high school, maybe even a sophomore. We've been hearing about this giant Manning kid, and now we're finally get to see him play football for Texas. So I'll be rooting against him, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, not to mention he's probably the most mobile of any of the Manning quarterbacks that have ever been.
He can run.
So yeah, I'm curious to see the future for Arch Manning. Considering the fact that he's the son of the brother that didn't make it because of injuries and stuff like that. He's the son of Cooper Manning, not even Peyton or Eli. I gotta do some investigating to see if they have sons. Because can you imagine if they have sons that are coming into high school right now?
No,
and that there's a you don't.
I'm gonna do it really quick. You just
Google it while I continue to move on. Having said all this about the playoffs, now the college football national championship game is set. It'll be played Monday over on ESPN at 7:30 at night as the 7 seed Notre Dame Fighting Irish take on the number 8 Ohio State Buckeyes. Listen, did the best 2 teams in college football make the national championship in your opinion? Are these the 2 best teams?
Of course, but to continue with what we were talking about, yeah, both Peyton and Eli have sons.
I can't wait. Can you imagine like four Manning kids, like grandkids in the NFL?
Peyton's son is named Marshall, and he was born in 2011. He has shown signs of being a future quarterback. And Eli's son is named Charlie. He was born in 2019. So we got a lot to figure out there.
Oh, they won't be in the league at the same time. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's late to be having kids.
Eli waited a long time. Yeah. He was.
Well,
I don't want to say older because your mom will kill me. But anyway, did the best 2 college teams?
Yeah,
yes. We had a playoff. So yes, how can you argue it? Who are you going to say? Oh, they could have played this team and they would have been better. No, they got beat at some point. I don't care.
In fairness, Notre Dame had the tougher slate and they made it out.
Don't care. So, see, the weird thing is, you could almost say Notre Dame with their FCS schedule. They played Georgia without Georgia's starting quarterback, which we could go into the FSU saga for a 4,000th time about how not having a starting quarterback does not make you the same team. In this case, I think Georgia was still pretty good because of the number of the players on that team. But anyway, then they had to play Penn State, who went through nobody to get there. Boise State and what was the other one? Boise State and was it Arizona State? No, it wasn't Arizona State. That was Texas. I forget. It doesn't matter.
It's forgettable.
I know it is. The first round. Gosh, that was so long ago now. I can't remember. Oh, SMU.
That's it.
So it's SMU and Boise State to get there. And so that's really I don't think anybody felt good about either one of those teams being any farther than they made it. So yeah, it's weird that you could say that did the best two teams make it because there might be a team that was somewhere in the bracket, but I'm not sure. So I think yes. I think the two best teams are there, and we'll find out. I think it's going to be interesting. If you would have said like Oregon was a good team, like could Oregon beat Notre Dame? Does it matter? They got absolutely curb stomped by Ohio State, so you wouldn't want to see that again. So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about the matchup. I think it'll be pretty fun.
I mean, yeah, I haven't been less interested in a college football national championship game in a long time. It's the first time since I believe 2004.
I can't figure out why that's the case. Like you posted that and said you did all this first person stuff on the Tap Outs and Touchdowns Facebook
apologies.
page.
I didn't.
And
I
was
like,
it. Speak for yourself, pal. Like
I'm not excited at all.
Yeah, I was like, I think personally when I look at the playoff and how it all went down and all that stuff, and we can argue, we have argued seeding and where the team should have been and who shouldn't have been in certain spots, and would these matchups have been better? That's fine. But when it all comes down to it, the teams that needed to get beat by the teams that needed to beat them got beat. We needed to see Oregon lose to somebody that was decent, right? It couldn't have just been a fluke. So Oregon, we wanted to see somebody like Tennessee because Tennessee was like, are they any good? Do we know if Tennessee would be good? Because if Tennessee's not good, that means Ole Miss isn't good. That means Alabama's not good. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of thing we needed to see. So we watched these teams. So who else would you even throw in there to say, well, that maybe this team would have been better? Would Georgia have possibly been better with Beck? Yes. But do I think they would have been the best team? No, I don't think Georgia was the best team going in. So I like Ohio State. I've been saying it for a long time, and if Ohio State is the champion, I think the best team won. So,
we'll give our predictions at the end of the show when we get to podcast pick, and let's talk some NFL here. Before we get to Wild Card Weekend, I wanted to pose the question. There's obviously an NFL draft coming later in the spring, and I kind of wanted to pose the question to you: of the 10 teams drafting in the top 10. Which of those 10 teams is currently in the worst situation heading into next season versus which team is potentially in the best situation going in the next season? And I want to try kind of talk about like not just like roster build, right? I'm talking like they're going to be coming in with a new coaching staff. They might be going into they might be going into an entirely new roster with a new quarterback. So Bill, if you can see the scrolling ticker going across the screen, we can talk about the top 5 teams and what they look like as right now your draft order goes. Number 1, the Tennessee Titans, 2, the Cleveland Browns, 3, the New York Giants, 4, the New England Patriots, and 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
Of those 5 teams, like, do you think any of them has a chance to be competitive at all next season?
I think the Jacksonville Jaguars do. I don't know what happened there last year or this past season. What the heck happened? They were a playoff team the year before.
Trevor Lawrence isn't that good.
I know. I do agree with that. Agree with that. Maybe the light bulb will go on. Maybe he'll Darnold this thing, but I don't know. But I think that team can be competitive for it. He's decent. They have a decent running back. They had decent wide receivers. Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas Jr. Like he's fantastic. Yeah, he's fantastic this year. So, I just don't know what happened with that team this year. They just didn't seem to be able to win any close games. And like you said, Trevor Lawrence is not a great player. I don't think he's going to be a great player. It's unfortunate because he was really, really respected and at Clemson and really, really, highly touted prospect. But that's unfortunate. But I still think that they will be more competitive than the rest of the teams in the top 10. I don't see any other team in the top 10 that's going to be any good next year.
All right, so round out the top 10 in the draft order. You got the Las Vegas Raiders at 6 as the scroll goes along. The New York Jets at 7, who is going to be looking at a new coaching staff, new quarterback, etc. The Carolina Panthers at 8, the New Orleans Saints at 9, and the Chicago Bears at 10. I mean, of these teams, who do you think is in the worst situation going forward? Like you can I'm going to make my point. I'm going to make my argument that the team in the best situation of those top 10 teams, and you're going to call me crazy.
Don't say the Carolina Panthers.
People called me crazy years ago when I said the Lions were the best 3-win team in football.
I didn't call you crazy.
The Carolina Panthers are probably in the best. And listen, hear me out. I think the Carolina Panthers are in the best situation to succeed right now. Of these 10 teams, and I'm going to tell you why. It's the first time in like 3 or 4 years that they get the entire coaching staff in consecutive seasons. You saw bright spots from Bryce Young, especially after coming back from being benched. He had 5 touchdowns in the season finale, a game in which, had the Buccaneers not been able to knock off the New Orleans Saints, the Carolina Panthers would have eliminated the Atlanta Falcons from the playoffs. The Carolina Panthers eliminated 3 or 4 teams from the playoffs down the stretch. I think you've got a decent core there for the Carolina Panthers. And listen, the reason why I say they're in the best situation, not just because they've got a core group of coaches that are coming back and a core group of players that finally started to click down the stretch of the season. They also play in what could be argued as the worst division in the NFL. I mean, granted, like every single team had a shot to win that division going into like week 12, including the Carolina Panthers. So like, no, do I think they're going to win a Super Bowl? Probably not. But of the 10 teams drafting in the top 10, like to have immediate success in 2025, and again, success being a relative term, I'm not saying that Carolina is going to go out and win 12 games and make the postseason. But based on all those factors, I mean, you got to think the Tennessee Titans is probably going to go out and draft the quarterback, if not trade away the number 1 overall pick to say the Dallas Cowboys, so the Cowboys can take Shedeur Sanders. The Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson just retore his Achilles. So they're going to be figuring out what they're going to do with his contract. So they've got a bunch of money that's guaranteed with him. And so they're going to be looking for another quarterback, and they've got new coaches that are coming in. I mean, you can go down the line. The New York Giants, what are they going to do at quarterback? The New England Patriots have a new coaching staff coming with Mike Vrabel. What are they going to do offensively? Vegas needs a quarterback and a new coaching staff. Like all these teams have in the top 10 have a lot of turnover. A lot of these teams are going to get new coaches. They're going to be able to start fresh in 2025. Whereas the Carolina Panthers, despite having the 8th pick in this year's draft, they already have some of those pieces in place. And so that's why I think they're in the best situation. When it comes to the worst situation, I don't think you can get worse than the New York Jets. I mean, they're just the epitome of a dumpster fire. Like you sign Aaron Rodgers, he plays 1 full season and 4 minutes in another game. You have fired your head coach, so you're going to be looking for another new coach, and they interviewed Rex Ryan to come back and coach the Jets again. Like that didn't end well. Like you coached the butt fumble guy. So, and then on top of it, you got guys like Devontae Adams, who was traded to help make the Jets competitive this season. And he's probably not going to be back next year. So I when it comes to this list, I think the Jets have the best chance to be the worst situation going forward, and the Panthers are the best. So having said all that, Bill, give me your worst situation and your best situation.
I honestly think the worst situation is the Raiders. I think that the way I see it, and I mean, this is fact. You win in the NFL by having generally good quarterback play. Unless you have a transcendent defense, you can win with Trent Dilfer. But really, it's quarterback play. And who's got really good quarterback play in this whole top 10? The only one that has a serviceable quarterback right now, and you can say all you want about Bryce Young, I'm not convinced yet. Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in that top 10. And that's crazy to say. I know it is. But if you really look at his stats, he had a pretty good season. Unfortunately, that team was not good. I don't know what they're going to do going forward. They need a coach too.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like they're changing too. But right now, the Tennessee Titans, they're going quarterback. Cleveland Browns, they're picking quarterback. The Giants sitting at 3. I don't know what they do. They've got a great wide receiver, and that's about it. They don't really have anything else.
He was already getting fed up in year 1. He was getting fed up with this team.
They have a decent defense. I think he had 109 catches. So Raiders are terrible. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have really anything. I don't know. They don't have a running back. They traded Devontae Adams. Who do they have to play wide receiver? I have no idea. They have Brock Bowers, and he's fantastic, but that's about it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. We can talk more about it, about that in the offseason going forward. But let's get into NFL Wildcard Weekend that took place last weekend. Some, you want to call them decent games, but none of the games were really decent. There was one close game, and that was over on the NFC side as the Buccaneers were edged out by the Washington Commanders as they hit a doinker through the uprights to knock off.
Doinker.
A doinker. That's what we're calling it, a doinker.
I think it was called the doink heard around the world, actually.
The doink heard around the world. I thought that was Doink was also a clown that wrestled in WWE for quite some time.
Is there anything that
Nevertheless,
hasn't gone through wrestling at some point?
no. Lawrence Taylor wrestled Bam Bam Bigelow at WrestleMania. Okay, like
Yeah.
Kevin Green's an NFL Hall of Famer. He wrestled in WCW with Ric Flair. Like wrestling and football go. Ron Simmons is a college football Hall of Famer, and he's a WWE Hall of Famer. So anyway, let's go back to Wild Card Weekend. I mean, what is there to say? I think the biggest loss, like obviously the Bills over the Broncos, Ravens over the Steelers, Texans over the Chargers. I took the Chargers to win outright because I didn't believe in the Texans, and they shut me up real quick. The Packers are about as what I expected them to be. Even though that you thought they were a really good team. The Rams over the Vikings is probably the most surprising game of the weekend. The Vikings won 14 games. Aaron Thompson says that I'm a doinker, so appreciate that.
That's interesting.
Sam Darnold cost himself a whole lot of money the last 2 weeks. What are the Vikings? They won 14 games this year, and they get blown out by the Rams.
The first team ever in the history of football to win 14. Of course they are, because they would place one extra game now. But first team ever to lose in the wild card round after winning 14 games in the regular season.
I mean,
the team before that, I don't remember what year it was, but it was New Orleans Saints had won 13 games and lost in the wild card round. But now the Vikings with 14.
What does Sam like? What is the future
I don't know
for the Vikings and Sam Darnold?
Well, I'll tell you what. They're now not getting rid of J.J. McCarthy. They were going to trade him 3 weeks ago. Like, that was going to happen. But now
Darnold was about to get Darnold was about to get a $50 million contract.
I heard it's going to drop down to like Baker Mayfield money now.
Honestly, if I'm the Vikings, I'm tagging him. Just tag him.
See what you get for another year, and then decide.
I mean, you got to think.
We talked about that. We said that. Like, they couldn't let him walk, so they're going to have to
Daniel Jones on the roster
all over again. Yeah, but that's the problem. That's the problem. They have been terrible since they signed Daniel Jones. That guy is a black cloud. There's something wrong with that guy.
Man, this makes me happy. My nephew's in the show watching. Connor Friend says the Rams brought back the Panthers, Sam Darnold. They did. They did. The Lions and Rams both did.
To be fair, the curse of the Panthers happened to both Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield fumbled that game away.
Both quarterbacks. Here's the thing, though. Of all the Panthers are picking in the top 10. Both of their former cornerbacks made the playoffs, and they just get knocked out in Wild Card Weekend. So, I mean, I don't know what the Vikings is probably the most shocking score of the entire weekend. They couldn't move the ball on offense. The Rams or the Lions sort of exposed what the recipe was to get after and beat the Vikings, and the Rams just followed suit, and they're moving on. And the only thing that worries me as a Lions fan about the Rams is the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on in Southern California with the wildfires, and my hearts and prayers go out to those out in Southern California who have gone through what Western North Carolina just went through in a different situation. People have lost homes. People have lost a lot out there. So now this is going to be that like resilient story. Like, what can the Rams overcome and win the Super Bowl for their community? And as a Lions fan, I'm like, listen, I appreciate what they're going on, what they've got going on out there, but like, I don't need this feel-good story. The feel-good story was in Detroit, having the best season they've ever had, the first time they've ever gotten the 1 seed, and now there's a potential if the Lions can win this weekend for the Rams to come back with Matt Stafford to return to Detroit one more time to play at Detroit for a shot at the Super Bowl on the line. It's just, there's too many juicy storylines. Bill, the NFL Divisional playoff round comes this weekend, and we're going to get to each individual game. We get a podcast pick 'em here in a second. But of the 8 teams remaining in the playoffs, I guess the 4, let's call them the 4 lower seeds, who do you think has the best chance to pull an upset this weekend?
Can I pick 2?
Sure.
I'm going to take one from the AFC. I think Houston. I think Houston has a chance to beat Kansas City. That game they played in the regular season was close. Still don't think Kansas City's all that good. They played some close games that they shouldn't have played. I told you last week I saw a video that the video said that Kansas City was like 6 or 7 plays away from being having a losing record.
Yeah.
And they had all the evidence. They had all the video evidence of the pass interference calls and all the stuff that saved games for them. So I think Houston. And I think the other one is Los Angeles. I'm not sure I feel great about Philadelphia. I think that got weird this week with A.J. Brown reading on the sideline. What the heck? What kind of distraction?
He said he does it every week, and they just never picked him up doing it.
So strange. That's a thing now. His coach had to come out and defend him. It's so weird. That's so weird. Did you hear what he's reading?
He's reading it like a self-help book, basically.
Yes.
And
he says it has sayings in it that put him at peace. I don't. Okay, but you're a football player. I mean, you have namaste. Like, is that what he's doing out on the field? Like, no, I want a guy that's going out and wreck stuff. This guy's giant. Putting him at peace. What are you talking about? So weird. By the way, that book. By the way, did you hear about this? It went from I think like 562,000th in book sales on Amazon to number one. I'm
sure.
So weird. The guy that wrote that book should be paying AJ Brown.
No
perfect
kidding.
Advertisement. But I think Los Angeles. They definitely showed how good they can be. And I talked about it a couple weeks ago because I think I picked them last week to beat Minnesota. They have had a really good second half of the season, like a really, really good second half of the season. Because I think they started the season like 2-4 and then finished at 10-7. So they've been really, really good. And I think they can continue to be that. I mean, when you've got those wide receivers and the players that they have on that team, I mean, they're scary. They're actually kind of scary. So that's going to be fun. I think Philadelphia could lose at home this week, and Houston could beat Kansas City. This is what I'm interested in the most, Ryan, is what these teams, especially Kansas City, after playing on Christmas Day, their starters haven't played since then. Mm-hmm. So I'm really curious to see how those players come out and execute at the beginning of the game against Houston on actually Saturday. It's a Saturday 4:30 game. So I think it's going to be interesting.
Listen, I don't know if you call it an upset. They are the lower seed, even though they are favored in the game. I like the Ravens over the Bills, man. Like if you had to take
Ravens
are so no.
Ravens, they are favored at Buffalo?
Yeah, we'll get there in a second.
What kind of weird stuff is that?
It's essentially a pick'em game. So even though they're favored, I like
them.
No,
it's not. A pick'em game is when the home team is favored by 2.5.
No, the pick'em game is a 1-point spread one way or the other, or a half-point spread. You're basically picking who's going to win. Even though they're a 1-point favorite over the Bills, I like the Ravens to be able to pull this off. I think the Ravens are the best team in the AFC. I don't know how they're going to do defensively against Buffalo, and if they can get past Buffalo, I don't know what they're going to do with Kansas City. I think the Ravens have the best shot to pull the upset. I think the Rams can do it too. I will tell you, when it comes to Kansas City,
it's not an upset. You just told me that the Ravens are favored. That's not an upset.
It's still the lower seed.
No, it's not. Not when they're favored. That's not right.
Whatever. Okay, so let me talk about the Kansas City Chiefs for a second. The starters haven't played since Christmas Day. I get it. I think they're going to start off really sluggish, but they've got an opportunity. They've got their entire offense is healthy for the first time all season. They've got Isaiah Pacheco, Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, and Rashee Rice. All their receivers are healthy. Travis Kelce needed some time to rest because he looked old as hell this season. And so I think
get worn out at home. That's what's happening.
The problem is I think the defense is going to be good enough to keep that game close, and then the offense breaks away in the second half of that game. Nevertheless, divisional round playoff games Saturday and Sunday. Let's get into podcast pick'ems here to close out the show. The pick'em standings do not look good for your guy Billy Rye. Bankerbill went perfect 8-0 last week, while your guy went 4-4. Which brings the overall season totals. Bankerbill is now taking. In fairness, I took a lot of games opposite Bill to try to catch up, and it was the wrong thing to do.
That's not true.
It is.
You picked some of the ones that you were the first to pick. That's garbage. You didn't even know.
Some of them I did, but not all. Anyway, Bankerbill's 56-35 on the season. I'm 46-44, so still over 500. But I digress. Let's look first at the College Football National Championship. The 7th seed Notre Dame Fighting Irish takes on the number 8 seed Ohio State. Ohio State is an 8-point favorite.
That's insane.
Monday night, 7:30 on ESPN. This game is being played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Bill, what say you? Can Ohio State cover this 8-point spread and blow out Notre Dame for the national championship?
An 8-point spread is absolute insanity. That's insanity in a national championship game. But yes, Ohio State is going to cover 8. They are that good. And Notre Dame is finally going to get exposed because they played Penn State. They're not good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Ohio State blows out Notre Dame. I still don't think Notre Dame's that good.
Their offense isn't good enough. Their offense isn't good enough.
No, Riley Leonard's he's okay,
Yeah.
but
I like the backup better. The backup actually came in and moved the offense for the first time the other night when they were playing in that game. Leonard gets hurt, goes out, and then the offense moved for the first time. They got a field goal when the backup played, and then for some reason, Penn State didn't play very well after that. It was weird.
Give me Ohio State to cover that as well. Now let's go over to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Saturday, kickoff at 4:30 over on ABC and ESPN. The Houston Texans, the 4 seed in the playoffs, travel to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, who are favored by 8.5 points.
Gosh,
these
are terrible spreads.
The 1 seeds have been terrible spreads.
They all
are. I think
except for your pick'em game. They're all terrible.
Yeah, I think Kansas City wins this game, and there's a potential for them to break, like I just talked about a second ago. There's a potential for them to break away in the second half. However, I think the Texans are going to do enough to keep this game close, and I think they cover. So give me the Texans with the points. But I would not be shocked if I'm wrong and Kansas City blows them out. Bill, what say you?
Do you remember the last time these two teams played? I think it was in the playoffs when Houston went up 21 points on Kansas City, and I think the final score was 51-31. Ridiculous. Kansas City plays a lot of defense. It's going to be cold in Kansas City. We're getting Arctic weather, I think, is what's going to – I don't know if it's going to be as bad as the Dolphins game last year. I read an article about that this week, right? Or today, actually.
Build domes.
Yeah.
There's no reason why NFL stadiums shouldn't have a retractable dome on every single stadium.
They interviewed the folks that actually got frostbite from it. Yeah. Anyway, I think Kansas City covers this. I don't think Houston. Well, I think that they could upset Kansas City because of I think there's a possibility Kansas City could come out flat. They probably don't. Andy Reid coach team, Patrick Mahomes, they cover it.
All right, let's move over to the 8:00 game Saturday night. Is the other 1 seed with the bye comes to play the 6 seed Washington Commanders as they travel to Ford Field and play the Detroit Lions. Saturday night, 8:00 over on Fox. The Lions are a 9.5 point favorite against the Washington Commanders. Bill, can Washington cover this spread?
Yeah, I think so. I think they cover that. I think it's a much closer game than that. Detroit, they are getting better on defense with their practice squad players. I cannot believe. Kudos to the coaching staff. Holy cow. As many injuries as Detroit has taken, they're playing fantastic. So we'll see how they play in the playoffs. Here we go. Washington's a pretty good team. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be close, fairly close. Not 9.5. That's insane. It's because Detroit's so good on offense.
David Montgomery will be back in this game. He started practicing.
I don't care.
He says he's going to be back. Doesn't matter. You're going to be able to keep Jahmyr Gibbs fresh. You're going to be able to pound the ball with David Montgomery. You're going to get the more of a balance with the run game. Not that you didn't get a balance with Gibbs without Montgomery, but Detroit is going to be able to control the ball on offense. They're going to be able to sustain drives. They're going to be able to hit big plays. I think they blow out the Washington Commanders. I think Jaden Daniels will make this game interesting for the backups on defense that are having to play in lieu of some injured players. But for the same reason I'm talking about the Kansas City Chiefs offense, the Lions defense is starting to get a little healthier. Like Alex Anzalone returned in the Week 18 game against the Vikings and balled out. He got a game ball in that game. There's some guys that are getting healthier with the rest, which the Detroit Lions so desperately needed going into the postseason. Yeah, give me the Lions to cover this 9.5. Next up, Sunday, it is a 3:00 kickoff over on NBC as the 4-seeded Los Angeles Rams travel out east to take on the 2-seed Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are a 6.5 point home favorite. Bill, you know what? I'll let you talk me into it, and I sort of talked myself into it because of the story in and of itself. You talked about, like we've talked about in the past, that there's a script and that things are already predetermined in the NFL. This is entertainment and that everything's there. I think it's right there for the Eagles to finally fold at the end of the season and for Matt Stafford to have his last return to Detroit to play for the NFC Championship game. Give me the Rams to get the upset over the Eagles this Sunday. Bill, what say you? Rams at Eagles?
No. As hot as the Rams have been rolling down this season, like I said, I think they're the team that could possibly upset the Eagles. The Eagles to finish the season are like 64-1. Like they're whatever that number is. It's stupid. They started the season 2-2. They finished 13-3. Sorry, 14-3. So you do the math. I think the Eagles roll.
All right, finally, the last game of the divisional round features the Baltimore Ravens, the 3 seed, going into Buffalo. The Buffalo against the Buffalo Bills as a 1-point road favorite. This game is a 6:30 kickoff over on CBS. Bill, what say you? Ravens at Bills.
This one pisses me off, honestly, as a Dolphins fan, and Buffalo, handing us our lunch for multiple seasons in a row here. I am rooting for Buffalo to absolutely pummel Baltimore, and I think they're going to. I think this is a Buffalo win. I don't see how you march into Buffalo in a 6:30 game in the dark, in the cold, and beat Buffalo on their turf. I just don't. I don't care how good Lamar Jackson is.
Yeah, for everything that you said, give me the Ravens to get the upset. I like the Ravens to get the win. I like the Ravens to potentially represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. So yeah, give me the Ravens to get the upset. So at least you got a chance to go 5-0 again this week and bury me further in the standings for podcast.
I don't feel quite as comfortable this week. I win all home teams. That never works.
Yeah, touche. That's the show. It might be one of the shortest shows we've done because we're right at a little over an hour.
Sweet.
Bill, anything in overtime you want to talk about? We were going to talk about off the air that I forgot what we were going to talk about now.
I was
like, maybe we get to overtime.
Either. Yeah, I don't really have anything. I just, you know what, man, to be honest, all these football games have been sort of a disappointment this season. I think that we've only seen a couple between the college football playoff and the pro football playoffs. We've only seen a couple competitive games. And with the spreads that we're seeing again, maybe there is something to this seeding thing. Like, I don't know. Like this, we're looking at a 9.5-point seed in the divisional round, or 9.5-point spread in the divisional round. That's terrible. Man, really? Vegas thinks this could be a blowout? This is not good. I just hope we see, for overtime, I hope we see some good football. That's all I care about this weekend.
I want to see good games in 3 of the 4 games. I want to see Detroit blow
Except for
out.
Detroit. Yeah, I
want
get
to see
it.
the Lions blow out the Commanders. And listen, I like Jaden Daniels.
And that's the 9.5-point spread. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's crazy that a team would win their playoff game and then go to play another playoff game and be like, oh, good job winning last week, but the team you beat is really awful. Really awful. So you're going to get blown out in the next game.
I don't think it's so much that they're awful. I think that the Lions are just that good. They think the Chiefs are just that good. So we'll see what happens with it. We get more full
those
weekend
same
of
Lions played the team that the Redskins, whatever they're called, the Commanders just beat last week and lost to them in the regular season. So
that was a long time. It was week 2.
It was game 2. Hey, you also lost to the Buffalo Bills. The Lions lost to the Buffalo Bills.
That was man.
At home.
They also lost 2 starters on defense in that game.
Don't care. You just picked.
And we only lost by 6.
You just picked against the Bills that is playing a 5-loss team.
I'm telling you right now, if I'm the Detroit Lions and I get my choice of AFC teams, the one team that I don't want to play is the Baltimore Ravens.
Only because Lamar can run, but you know who else can run?
Josh Allen. Yeah, I know that they've already beaten Detroit, but I think they came into Detroit and beat them in Detroit too. I get all that.
Yeah, they did.
The one team that I don't want to see out of the AFC right now is Baltimore. So we'll see what happens. We get to see, like I said, one more full weekend of football this coming weekend. I really wish I can remember what we were going to talk about at the end of the show, but it's okay. Listen, thanks to everybody who's part of the show. It's sort of a quiet night tonight. Thanks to Aaron and Austin Thompson, Volley Polly. Thanks to those who listened over or watched over on Instagram. Thanks to my nephew, Connor, for showing up on the show for a while. That was kind of cool. But if you are going to watch the show in the future, make sure you're following on all of our socials. Facebook.com/tapouts and touchdowns. Make sure you go follow me on X. I shared the YouTube link on X tonight at Tapouts and TDs. On YouTube, we're at Tapouts and Touchdowns. And if you want to follow my Instagram, I am at Ryan Frick Comedy. We have a wrestling show coming up at some point, but next week we'll be back to talk more playoffs. We're going to be predicting the NFC and the AFC championship games, which means we are about 3 to 4 weeks away from the end of the professional football season until we get the UFL back at the end of March. So we get a little bit of a reprieve. But yeah, we got a little more football talk coming back next week. So make sure you join us again next Wednesday. For Banker Bill, it's your guy Bully Rye, and we'll see you next time right here on Tap Outs and Touchdowns.